Be wise with your investing. Have multiple sources of investing. Like Ecclesiastes tells us, like Solomon tells us. Venture into 7, 8 sources of income, sources of investing. Okay? Be wise with your investing. And be mindful of these times that we're living in. Shalom, beautiful people. Welcome back to the MoneyPot channel, where we talk about world economics and events, cryptocurrency, biblical principles, and much, much more. I don't know if you realize this, but I'm continuing to see the quiet revolution of finance and how the future of money is really wrapped up in tokenization. Tokenization is this process of tokenizing assets. So we got assets such as artwork, assets such as real estate, commodities, securities, and they are going to be tokenized and put onto the global blockchains. And those blockchains that are able to facilitate these trades is massive amounts of money coming into the digital asset space. Really, we're just seeing a small percentage of what the future of finance is going to do with blockchain technology. Retail, and I just met a brother. Shout out to Slumps. Just met him. He's talking about, oh, you do trading? I'm like, nah, bro, I can't even do trading, bro. I'm an investor because it just takes up a lot. But I noticed when I was trading how I would get greedy. And, one thing I realized about retail is that retail, and I've been there myself, chases chart spikes, focusing on the daily, weekly, hourly, even monthly charts. We chase chart spikes. But institutions, they chase reliability. And more so, they chase and want structure. I want you to realize that. And that's what I've been realizing more and more as we're seeing this quiet revolution of finance. The structure is being built. So we're seeing, a couple weeks ago, the SEC had a roundtable with massive players in the finance space talking about how to move securities on chain, how to tokenize securities. And this is huge, y'all. This is huge because, at this roundtable, and I'll put the link in the description below, we see organizations like Blackrock, Robinhood, Invesco, even the institution of the government that moves money, the clearinghouse, the DTCC. The DTCC, they move $3.7 quadrillion in securities on a yearly basis. That's how much they just moved in 2024. $3.7 quadrillion. And they are talking about tokenizing. They actually recently just put out a patent that specifically names Stellar and Ripple's blockchains. You see, this process of tokenization is going to be freeing up liquidity, and value is going to be brought onto the blockchains. That's what these institutions want. Institutions, these Blackrocks and Invescos and these massive players in the global financial space, they want structure. And that is what's happening. We see regulators talking with these major businesses and financial institutions, and they're collaborating to develop the structure. Soon, we're going to see the government start to get into it. But the process has already begun. Don't chase those chart spikes, but focus on the infrastructure that's being laid. And that's what the institutions are being focused on. When you are a holder of XRP and XLM and these other blockchains that are building this new financial system, you have to realize that you are setting yourself up to reap the benefits of all of this finance moving onto the blockchain. And we're talking about trillions of dollars moving onto the blockchains, okay? Because when you think about how much BlackRock has, assets under management, $10 trillion. and other financial institutions like Invesco, Franklin Templeton, like every major financial institution is talking about how to bring their assets on chain because it frees up so much liquidity. But these are, trillion-dollar asset managers that are talking about tokenizing their securities. Securities are already regulated. They're regulated by the SEC. They had this roundtable where they talked about traditional finance meaning decentralized finance. So obviously, it's in a regulated fashion. Securities are already regulated. That's not going to stop. But what is going to happen is that soon we're going to see those assets under management that are securities, whether they're mortgage-backed securities, whether they're mutual funds, whether they are real estate holdings, whether it's like artwork or, assets that have trillions of dollars in value are going to be brought onto the blockchain. So what makes these blockchains valuable is the fact that these assets are being brought onto the blockchains. And the native coins is what these institutions are going to utilize to trade. Not only are these blockchain ledgers going to be creating more subsequent cryptocurrencies for these central banks to be able to issue on and for these financial institutions to be able to issue on, but these blockchain technology, the native cryptos, for example, for XRP, we know that they partner with central banks all around the globe. They're partnered with 20 plus central banks, okay? And major financial institutions. They're partnered with all these banks, but they're allowing for banks to bring their assets onto the XRP ledger as well as issue their own coins on the XRP ledger. This is massive because I don't want you to think about the coins that JP Morgan Chase is going to issue, but think about when JP Morgan Chase has to move assets to Invesco. They're not going to trade in the coin that JP Morgan Chase issued to his customers. They're going to trade in the native token on the blockchain ledger that they're both a part of. That's what makes XRP and XLM very, very valuable for the future. We're talking about bank-to-bank transfers. You really should start to think of yourself as a holder of these cryptocurrencies as a bank. And that's why don't chase the chart spikes. Don't chase the big fluctuations in price. Focus on the infrastructure that's being built, because the infrastructure that's being built is going to allow for the value to get transferred there. I know I said a lot, but it's a quiet revolution of finance. Not everyone is noticing what is happening. You're focused on Dogecoin. You're focused on Pepe. Stop focusing on that. Focus on those assets, those digital assets that are going to bring you long-term wealth. Seriously. Right now is not the time to play around. We are living this great wealth transfer where 50, 100 plus trillion dollars of wealth is going to be passed on by all that wealth that the baby boomers built up with all the cheap real estate and how it all rose in value and their businesses. All this inheritance is going to be passed down, whether it's passed down to families or to individuals who are prepared to purchase the businesses and the real estate. So all this, the great wealth transfer is happening right now. And soon that great wealth transfer is to move onto the blockchain as securities become tokenized. Y'all, don't miss out on this quiet revolution of finance. If you're looking to learn more about cryptocurrency, please hit us up where we can schedule a one-on-one consultation and we can talk about how to develop a strategy for you and your family so you can be able to benefit from this great wealth transfer. The value of these ISO 2022 coins is tied in their ability to facilitate transactions and payments. All right, they're facilitating the transactions and payments, but also their ledgers have a lot of assets on them. So be wise with your investing. Have multiple sources of investing. Like Ecclesiastes tells us, like Solomon tells us. Venture into 7, 8 sources of income, sources of investing. Okay? Be wise with your investing and be mindful of these times that we're living in. Make sure you guys drop some comments below on anything that you thought of, but this revolution of finance is going to create millionaires and billionaires and probably our first trillionaire as well. Like, dislike, share, subscribe, do what you do, but we appreciate you. Till next video, make sure you stay blessed, stay healthy, stay prayed up. Peace.